Hey, welcome to DDCEO today. We go after the best stories. We go after the best rags to riches stories, the coolest cats out there. They're our guests, and we're hosting a great guy today. Guy that's starting in a business that not many people are passionate about. Much like the asphalt paving business and concrete business, not a lot of passion comes from this industry usually until guys like me come along or guys like Nick come along. So we got Nick Friedman, our guest today. Welcome, buddy, to DDCEO.
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks for being here, buddy. Yeah. So Nick he's quite a story. You built a great company, moving and junk and moving. It's a business when most kids go to college. They don't say they want to be a paving guy or a roofing guy or a moving guy or a junk guy, right? They want to do the clean jobs and jobs that are a little sexier maybe. But Nick, in my opinion, you've made moving and junk sexy by bringing a lot of differentiation and great ideas to a business. You've created a franchise model that's kicking butt across the country. I've watched it from a distance, seen your brand and thought, well, what a cool brand that is. And I've heard the story a little bit, but boy, we're going to hear the whole story today. So we'd love to start with just talk about kind of how it all started, Nick, and where you've gotten to today. What are your differentiators? What made you passionate about this junk and moving business, right? Tell us the whole story.
Yeah, well, you're absolutely right. We didn't grow up saying, "Hey, I want to be a junk man or a moving guy" when we graduate from college or when we finish at least high school. And I was always brought up to follow that more traditional career path: work hard in school, try to get good grades, go to college, try to get a good job, try to move up that job. And it was actually the summer before our senior year of college. I was home for summer vacation, and my best buddy from high school approached me with a beat-up cargo van from his mom's small furniture store that she offered to let him borrow for the summer to do odd jobs. And he was basically like, "Hey, we can haul people's junk away, we can move people's furniture, we can make some money." And I wasn't making any money that summer, so that sounded like a good opportunity. And we actually credited his mom not just with letting us borrow the van, but she looked at us and she goes, "You guys could be like college hunks who haul junk." And we laughed at first, and we said, actually, that's a pretty catchy name. So we made these computer printout flyers and just stuck them in mailboxes, and the phone was ringing, and recognized very early, that was like the light bulb moment for me. People have a need for the service, and they thought the name was catchy. It wasn't, what people typically associated with, maybe blue collar work. And so we actually wrote a business plan our senior year. We got fortunate enough to win an entrepreneurship competition, gave us a little more confidence. And then we graduated and decided to start the business full time. And I always tell the story how we had the 800 number that we acquired, and we put it on the back of our truck, but we still had it routed to our cell phone. And people would call to complain about erratic driving, and I'd be the one in the driver's seat apologizing, saying, "No, we don't condone that type of driving. We'll tell those guys to be safer on the road." Probably fired ourselves at least 3 or 4 times, that first summer. But no, we had a lot of enthusiasm and energy around sort of the creative process, launching into something that we could call our own. Even though the days were long and the work was physically grueling, I can say that I was never more energetic prior to actually launching into the business. So the passion came more from the creative and just ability to work on something that we could call our own.
Did you see any models back then? I mean, Nick, I think about your business. It's like mine, the mom and pop industry, right? And it's not like, people figure out how to scale these businesses like yours and mine that easily. Tell me about, did you see somebody doing something somewhere and say, "Man, you know what? We could be like that."
Absolutely. So you're right. It was a very fragmented industry, a lot of independents. Anybody can go out and get a truck and get into this business, but we saw that there was maybe higher barriers to scale. And we learned about a company out of Canada, actually Vancouver, Canada, called Got Junk, which had started franchising as well. And they were getting quite a bit of publicity, quite a bit of exposure, and they had franchised it. And that seemed at the time for us kind of a glamorized idea or notion, because you heard of McDonald's being a franchise, but we never thought of, other concepts or didn't quite understand the concepts of other franchises. And we had at that time started to burn out a little bit about, us doing all the physical work ourselves. So we read a book by Michael Gerber called The E-Myth Revisited. It's by Michael Gerber, and it's all about working on your business, not just in your business. So that was like the next light bulb moment for us, where we said, hey, if we're ever going to have another truck, let alone another location, we've got to start documenting how we do everything. And that led us to learn about the International Franchise Association. We started going to some presentations and meetings, and learned that there's all these other service-based franchise concepts beyond just junk or moving that had franchised. And actually there was a moving company, 2 men in a truck that had franchised as well. And then of course, painting companies and handyman companies and all sorts of companies that had franchised. And so we embarked down that path of franchising. I will say we probably had a more glamorized view of what it would be like when we started down that path. We didn't realize that, becoming a franchisor is like starting a new other business entirely, and there's a very steep learning curve. We are now in the business of attracting and rewarding and selling franchises, but then also helping those franchises and making sure those franchises are successful. And you really don't hit a scale until you're at 50 or 100 locations, but getting to that point is a pretty slow trudge. So again, that was sort of what inspired us and motivated us and gave us the ambition and confidence to run after it. So we said, hey, maybe we weren't first to franchise in this space, but we could be the McDonald's to the or the Burger King to the McDonald's, or the Pepsi to the Coke, or there's always going to be a Hilton to Marriott. So we wanted to be that second iconic main, well-known brand that was in this space.
I love it. I've gone to the IFA a couple of times. A good friend of mine was the chair for a year, whatever it was, a year or two. They do that.
Yeah.
Shelly's son. Do you know Shelly's son, Bright Star?
Absolutely. She's actually a mentor and investor in our company at this point. So absolutely, she's been
She's one of my best friends, and she was a DDCEO also. I was in forum with her. Are you YPO?
Yes. Yep. I'm in YPO.
I was at YPO with her when she was, 5% of the size she is today. I was 5 or 10% of the size that I am today as well, right? And so I watched her, grow this thing. And believe me, I've been around other franchises. Jimmy John's a friend of mine and some others. And so I've seen franchises and what they do. I've often thought we could do it in our industry, paving parking lots across America. And I know it can be done. Nobody's really done it, and I just not put the effort forward. I've been just building locations of our own that we own, but there's no doubt in my mind it can be done.
I tell you, if you can build locations of your own, I actually try to convince more people out of franchising than into franchising, just because it adds an extra layer of complexity that maybe isn't necessary if you're able to figure out how to execute with a corporate operation. But I will also say, speaking of Shelly's son, she wrote a really amazing book called Grow Smart, Risk Less, that I describe as really the blueprint of franchising. And if we had read that book when we had first started franchising, we would have cut out so many of the mistakes and bottlenecks that we made in the early days, just because she really just lays it out in very simple, path to become a successful franchisor. She had actually started franchising around the same time we did, but very quickly became a mentor for us, and then ultimately an investor in our business as well.
That's awesome. I know she's an investor in your business. I think I know she mentioned you guys. I just didn't know she's a great person, great friend of mine, and an amazing, bright one of the brightest entrepreneurs I know for sure. And so you're in good company, buddy. We've had some great franchisors that have been on my show. I only interview people that I believe are top 1% in their industry. You're top 1 or 2 or 3 in your industry, in my opinion, which is amazing, right? And Shelly's the same way. She's not gonna be happy until she's number 1 in her space. And that's who I am. That's who you are. And I want more people to understand, that it can be done, right? If you want to put the word forward, you want to be creative, differentiate, you can do it. So more about you. When you look at your business, you're doing both moving and junk, right? So I like the idea of having multiple verticals, as long as I know I'm serving the same customer. And I can have another tool in my toolbox, something that we can be in front of them more on, right? We started out paving, but then I got into snow removal, so I was in front of my customers in the winter. Then I got into concrete work, and I got into roofing. We've got 13 companies nowadays, all with leaders that are scaling them. Mine are separate entities. Every company is a separate entity with a separate leader, but when I think about this, everything I do, I don't want to do it unless I can differentiate very strongly in that industry with a goal to aspire to be one of the best in the world at that industry, right? And so when I look at your business, I can think of a few things, but tell me about what your strongest differentiators have been. The name is amazing, your brand is amazing, but what are a couple differentiators you guys have discovered to really enable your franchisees now to be successful market by market?
Yeah. So certainly at the beginning, it was very important for us to stand out because it's a crowded, cluttered industry, and we needed to sort of stand out in a crowded landscape for people to notice us. So our name, College Hunks Hauling Junk, and then we added moving shortly thereafter, so it's and moving. And then the bright orange and green colors, they're kind of hard to miss, sort of the iconic logo of the guy flexing. But we also realized very quickly that just having a catchy name and bright colors wasn't enough. It might be enough to get people to, pay attention or maybe even pick up the phone and call us or go to our website. But if we went out and did a lousy performance when we hauled people's junk away or moved their furniture, we weren't going to get what I call the 3 R's: the repeat business, the referral business, and the reputation online or offline. And so, or, maybe I call it the reviews, to use another R. And so we very quickly started discussing how can we be more intentional about not just the service experience of our clients, but also the cultural experience of our employees inside the organization, because we're trying to hire a different type or different caliber of mover or hauler that's going to be able to be different, more at ease, more at peace, more trusting, more caring with our clients than maybe the typical one. And that took a lot of intention. And we read a lot of books about company culture and core values. And I know it's not sort of cliche to talk about, but we came up with our 4 core values that we decided were going to be non-negotiable elements of how we manage the behaviors and reward and recognize and or maybe remove the behaviors in our organization that are preventing us from delivering a superior or different experience for the team members or the clients. And that's really...
So it's tough to get down. So I've gone through this a few times over the last 40 years, right? We've changed it a few times. That it's really tough for me to get to 4, right? But if you can get to 3 or 4, the less the better. I have friends of mine that they have 8 or 10. Nobody's going to remember those, right? And to live by those 8 or 10, they're probably a lot of are saying the same thing anyway. So I can only get down to 5, but I want to hear your 4.
Yeah. So our 4 are always branding, building leaders, create a fun, enthusiastic team environment, and then delight or listen, fulfill, delight is what we call it. But coincidentally, that's A, B, C, D. So it's a little bit easier for people to remember. A, always branding. B, building leaders. C, create a fun, enthusiastic team environment. And D, delight, with parentheses, listen, fulfill, delight. And so the goal, we're big followers of the Traction book series and Entrepreneurial Operating System. And one of the things that they talk about is core values being shared by all, not just with all. And so we beat that core value drum at every opportunity. We do a daily huddle as a company every day. We do a core value review every day. The franchise owners do a daily huddle with their crew every day before dispatching out to do the work. They do a core value review every single day before they dispatch the team. We do core value awards. We do core value shout outs. I'll if I see a College Hunks truck driving down the road or stopped at a gas station, and I'll hop out and I'll ask the guys driving if they can name me one of the 4 core values. And sometimes they can, sometimes they can't, but the aspiration is for them to all be able to, or at least be somewhat cognizant or know that we are a values-based organization. So being that, we can then deliver that experience for the clients and the franchise owners in our case to be differentiated.
I love it. Give me that last one again.
Yeah, delight. D for delight. And then we put listen, fulfill, delight. But in order to make it easier to remember, A, B, C, D, we just said delight for D.
Listen and fulfill.
Yeah.
Delight. Okay, cool. All right, so yeah. And that means, if you really, if you just have core values, and many, I for my first 15 years really had core values, but didn't really hire by them, didn't fire by those, didn't hold people accountable, didn't reward people by displaying great values that we put up there, right? Because it was my fault that we didn't really live by it as much. And then years later, probably 15, 20 years in, I read books on about how much it meant to live, live your business, live your core values every day in your business. And we started to really talk about it more. Nowadays, just like you, right? We talk about them daily. We want our teammates to know about our core values inside and out and live by them. And when there's issues, when there's challenges and problems, almost every single time there's a core value to talk about, whether it's good or bad, right? So I love it. I mean, and I love what you said. Shared by all, not just with all, right?
Yeah. And we say, we similar to that, another mantra we use is it's not what's on the walls, it's what's in the halls, meaning it's not the image of the core values on a poster, but it's actually the people that embody those core values as well. And then, I think a common misconception when people start talking about core values is that, some people think, whether it's employees or even business owners, and we made this mistake also, is just because you have core values doesn't mean that you don't also have accountability-based performance and performance-based toughness. And so they've got to go hand in hand. My business partner likes to say, you need the right balance of Sesame Street and Wall Street. If you've got too much Sesame Street as an organization, you're basically just creating a daycare and there's not going to be results as an organization. If you've got too much of a Wall Street mindset, you're going to create a lack of loyalty, passion, enthusiasm, especially when things get challenging. People are going to jump ship instead of rolling up their sleeves and locking arms. And the way I think of it is almost like if you've got a sports team, you've got to have a dynamic winning locker room environment, but then you've also still got to perform on the field. So we made the mistake when we started reading all these books on culture and values of maybe not emphasizing the fact that accountability is part of that. Building leaders being one of our core values, we should have made it, and we now make it very clear that being a leader is wanting to be held accountable, is holding others accountable, holding yourself accountable. And so we had these sort of warm and fuzzy sounding core values, but then the moment we started saying, hey, you've got to hit your numbers, people were like, oh, wait a minute, this is not in line with our core values. And we're like, well, actually, this is building leaders. So I think it's important to know, you've got to have both. You've got to have the warm and fuzzy element that makes people want to feel welcome and deliver that warm service. But you've also got to hit your metrics too. But if you got a guy who's good at his metrics, but not involved in line with the core values, they call them brilliant jerks, right? They're really good at their job, but they're not a fit for the culture. So you got to either coach those people up or out. But then if somebody's just a great culture fit, but isn't able to do their job well, maybe you got to coach them out or coach them up or put them in a different seat as well. So I think that's the dynamic, the balance that a world-class team has to have.
Yeah, absolutely. World-class is something I use always. If we're going to be in any business, we're going to serve any customer, we got to do it at a world-class level. Now, can we do it off the bat? We start a new vertical or we do something different for our customers? Maybe not, right? But we sure the heck want to figure out who is world-class at that business and how do we kick their butts in the future, right? And I think that world-class is a vague statement, but if you can be top 1% in the world at whatever you do, you're world-class, right? And eventually, hey, if you figure out who the number one in the world is, and you can kick their butt, okay, then you become number one. That's even cooler, right? And with all that, right, it's a matter of serving our customers better than anybody else in the world, and that makes us world-class. So it's a win-win-win, right? When we can serve our customers better than anybody else in the world, they're happy. Our not only customers, our teammates are happy because they're competitive. They want to do the same thing. They want to win, right? And any stockholders are happy as well because you're going to do pretty well when it comes to profitability. So I love world-class is something I've been using for about 20 years. It took me a while to be able to say it proudly, and it took my teammates even longer before they really believed it, right? But again, if you say it long enough and you live by it and you hold yourself accountable to it, you'll get there as well.
You start living up to it and or manifesting it, and it becomes the reality.
And if you're telling your customers you're gonna be world class, you better doggone well be ready, right, to serve them like nobody else, so they can actually they can actually buy into it as well. And when your customers are buying into it, they become raving customers, right? Tooting your horn, man. Now you've got the world by the shorts, right? So I love what you're doing here. When you think about building leaders, for us in our businesses, we're acquiring companies across the country over the next 6-7 years. We're going to buy 20 to 30 companies in our space, and we're going to grow them 400 or 500% in a short period of time. And we think we'll grow 400 or 500% within 5 years. Okay, and we can do that because we have some technology like nobody else in the world in our space. But I got to tell you, the biggest challenge we have ahead, and I have a leadership meeting coming up with 60 of our teammates in Nashville for a couple of days. And it's going to be all about, what are we going to do? If we're going to grow like we want to grow, we're going to be the first $1 billion brand in TV parking lots, right? And to get there, we got to have 5 times the amount of leaders that we have today. And we got great leaders, but how do we duplicate our leaders to have 5 times as many leaders as we have today in 6 or 7 years? Now, when we partner and buy a little company, right, we're going to have a leader there. Hopefully we can mentor into being, our culture, our quality, right, and all the other things, our core values. But on top of that, we're going to have to duplicate it and train, double that. So when I look at that, that's a big responsibility. And if you don't have great leaders already in place, you're never going to get there. So my job as the leader I am today, right? My son Austin's a YPR also, and he's a great entrepreneur. You got to meet him someday. He's a little younger than you, but not too much younger. But Austin's job is to build leaders, right? And my job is to do the same thing as we grow. But if you can't build great leaders, if you don't have leaders on your team that when they see somebody that's excellent, maybe smarter or better than them, when they see a person like that, when they embrace them and then promote them and say, man, this guy's amazing, he's better than me, right? That's a leader. When you see somebody then it has a hard time hiring somebody that might be better than them. Hard time hiring somebody that might surpass them, right? That's just not a leader. And you're not going to grow as strong if that's the type of leadership you're building, right? And I think I'm sure over this time you've seen that, and I've seen that. But growing leaders and building leaders is the most important thing we can do, not just for our companies and our customers, right? But also for their families. So we're building leaders. We're probably building leaders for communities and families as well, and that's the coolest.
Yeah. I love the Brené Brown quote. She says, "A leader is somebody who sees the potential in another individual and then has the courage and patience to develop that potential." A leader, and it actually starts with yourself, right? You got to see the potential in yourself to become a leader and have the courage and willingness to develop that potential. But then take that a step further, to your point, and be able to, identify and cultivate that potential in other individuals. And I think if you can have that sort of ongoing leadership development where leaders are developing leaders, the old iron sharpening iron, you can create something pretty magical. And sometimes it involves bringing in outside facilitators or bringing somebody in from the outside who's got talent that can help level up the team. There's a saying I read that mediocre people don't like being around high achieving people because it makes them look bad. High achieving people don't like being around mediocre people because it's holding them back. And so trying to sort of weed out the mediocre and continue to upgrade the level of high achievers is what will continue to propel any organization or team ahead.
Absolutely. Yeah. While you're growing these franchises, I mean, these people are direct employees of yours, right? And so now it's a little bit different animal. But hey, you got to make sure that they're living your values, they're living your brand. Therefore, they've got to live to build leaders, and how you do that in the future is gonna really determine your success and how far you can go, right? So tell me about how many locations do you operate? Are like our own by you guys, you and your partner, and how many otherwise?
Yeah, so we've got just over 200 franchisees, franchise locations, franchise owners, and then we've got 4 operations that we still own and operate ourselves. We have a kind of a thesis and roadmap to onboard and develop some more company-owned operations. But I think having a good mix and balance of franchise-owned and company-owned will be the recipe for us on a go-forward basis.
Absolutely. Okay, so when you think about when you think about your strengths and weaknesses and then your partners, like tell us where your strengths are and where your partners are. Are you guys like exactly the same when you do exactly the same thing, or do you guys have different strengths? Tell me about your partner.
Yeah.
Are you still buddies? Tell me about all that.
Yeah. So my business partner and I went to high school together. We were best friends in high school and college, and then now business partners for almost 20 years. I will say we definitely have slightly different approaches to what we bring to the workspace. He's a little bit more laid back and casual in his approach, and I would describe him as kind of a pure visionary entrepreneur. I'm a little bit more obsessive compulsive and high strung and get wound up on the details. So I'm a little bit more nuts and bolts and let's, he's like, hey, fire, and then, we'll aim and figure it out. And I'm like, wait a minute, let's make sure we aim first and then we can fire. And so I think having that allows us to sort of meet somewhere in the middle, which makes us pretty impactful. If it was just me, I would, drive everyone crazy and stress everyone out, including myself. If it were just him, we might be going in too many different directions. So we're able to sort of be a bit of a yin and yang in that regard. And we're still good friends. I think, a lot of people have always been impressed with the fact that we've been able to maintain our friendship and business partnership. And because you hear a lot of, horror stories about families or friends who go into business together. But I always like to say that we've always had a shared long-term vision. Our shared values have always been in alignment. We're willing to communicate and trust each other. And I think we've got a mutual respect for each other and what each other brings to the organization. Like it's easy for anybody in any relationship to, get frustrated or resentful, for one thing or another. We've never had resentment harbored or anything like that. We could get in an argument about how we're going to do something or, what we're going to do with one particular project. But at the end of the argument, we're like right back to work as if nothing ever happened, and we commit to the decisions and just keep it moving. So it's been a good dynamic. It's been fun because then when you're doing something like that with somebody who's a close friend, you can celebrate the victories together. And then if you got a tough go of it, whether it's, economic downturn or COVID, you can have somebody to sort of, be there for you in the down times.
Absolutely. At high strung, I don't see you as high strung, dude. Now, where'd that come up? You're kind of a laid back guy. You're slow. I got to kick you in the butt here to keep you talking. I'm not sure how high strung comes up a bit when you mentioned, Nick Friedman. But no, guess what? You need that. You need a mix of that. I've been exactly like you. I've been a little bit probably too aggressive. My vision's been too big, often too big. My team is usually comprised of people that will challenge me, that will challenge my thoughts and pull me back a little bit, and that's what we need. My son is much like your partner, right? He's pretty chill, laid back, very very strategic thinker. He's more of an operations leader and gets stuff done and a great leader. But I've been very much a visionary. He's a visionary in some of the businesses that he's passionate about, sees the vision ahead. But overall, I need him to be the guy that pulls back on me sometimes. And I've got 13 different companies, and each one a leader that has a little bit of different strengths and weaknesses. Most of my leaders are strong operationally. Some of them have both vision and operational strength, which is hard to find. And most of them though are great operations leaders that are passionate about the industry and want to be great at it. And then we can hopefully teach them the entrepreneurial side of things, the vision side of it, and scaling and all that. But that marriage, like you're saying, if you're both high strung visionaries, yeah, you're a good guy. You probably get along, but you run into each other a little too often and step on each other and stuff like that, right? Tell me, are you guys both married?
We are. We actually met our now wives about a week apart at the same location, same venue in Tampa, Florida. So we're both married. I've got 4 kids. He's got 2. My second daughter and his youngest grade, same school. So they get to play together, which is really fun as well to see and observe and be a part of.
Well, and you guys being partners in business, we're to your business. I'm sure you guys married up like you're capable of doing, right? Personalities, you're outgoing to sell that. But I mean, the most important thing in life is who you marry, right? And do you marry somebody that makes you better and that you can help maybe make better, and they're going to make you better, or do you marry somebody that pulls you back and that doesn't support your aggressiveness, your driving nature in business, right? Unfortunately, it doesn't always work out. Marriages said, boy, what what a challenge it can be in your business life if you don't have somebody that's like really supportive of your life. Because as an entrepreneur, driving entrepreneur that you are and your partner is, it's not like you're working 35, 40-hour weeks. I know that.
Yeah. Yeah. I like to say, probably the something harder than being an entrepreneur is actually being married to an entrepreneur, because then you got to hang on to the coattails or the tiger tail and ride the wave and the roller coaster up and down a little bit. And there's some highs and lows as being part of an entrepreneurial family, no doubt about that. But yeah, I think you hit it on the head. I mean, having a great partner in life is critical. Having, good people around you. You become the average of the people you hang out with the most. So, you want to hang out with people that are going to move you forward and elevate your abilities and also challenge some of your weaknesses. And so you're absolutely right on that. I used to jokingly tell my wife, because I always wanted to play professional sports as an adult. Obviously, I wasn't blessed with those skills. But early on, when she would get frustrated with some of my traveling, I said, "Well, I'm like a corporate athlete. Think of me like a corporate athlete." She goes, "Well, if I wanted to marry an athlete, I would have married an athlete." So to scale it back a little bit on your travel. So so that was kind of, we still joke about that.
I love it. So when you look at the future, when you look at, let's say, 5 years off and 10 years off, where do you see the pace you're on and the pace you're going to, let's say, where do you think you can get to 5 years from now, 10 years from now? What are your...
I love your vision of becoming a $1 billion brand, and that's our aspiration as well. I mean, it's a a milestone of I think success, but also as we do that, we're going to be able to make a significant amount of impact and have some fun doing it, because we're going to probably have to add some additional revenue streams and be creative with how we maximize the productivity of each franchise owner. See them. What's been really fun to the journey to this point is seeing how many successful franchise owners we have in our system that are literally millionaires, making amazing money, putting their kids through college, buying houses, and taking really cool vacations. So the fact that our business idea has become now a platform for people to pursue personal and professional fulfillment has been really, really cool for me as a founder. So, look, we're a $300 million a year business today. So if we could 3x that, 3 to 4x that in the next 5 years, I think that would be an awesome achievement. And, we've got some headwinds in the market economy, no doubt about it. But, the rules of the game apply to everybody. So we just got to do better and keep evolving.
Absolutely. And when you think about when you think about the economy, because we don't know. I mean, I try to study economics and stuff. I'm involved in the last 10, 15 years politically and what goes on in the country and our states and all that. And I believe that there is a crunch in the economy coming. There's a slight recession coming, maybe a big one. I want to position my business constantly to have great recurring revenues, great recurring customers, kind of a maintenance model in my industry that's stronger than any other maintenance model in my industry, right? That's what we focus on, my team. Every business I have is maintenance focused. Your business seems to be kind of the same way. I mean, it seems like tough times, in the best times and the toughest times, there's probably going to be a certain amount of opportunity. What are your thoughts on how you position yourself in a tougher time?
Well, I think number one, we've got a budget for it. We can't be spending out in front of our skis if the market demand is not calling for it. But then we also have to be keep our eyes and ears open to those opportunities, like you mentioned. Actually, during the housing market downturn of 08, 09 is when we added moving services to our brand. So prior to that, we were strictly doing junk removal. And then, we realized, hey, why don't we just expand our pie a little bit to trucks and labor and offer moving to try to increase our revenue opportunities. And so I think being able to identify those opportunities and strike when they present themselves is going to be important. I think maintaining a level of focus and discipline at the leadership level will be important, both, in being able to echo the importance of resiliency and grit through the challenging times. There's elements of that. So I think those would be some of the keys to keep in mind as as we enter in, uncharted unexpected economic turbulence, perhaps this next couple months, next couple years, maybe.
So one thing you said, and I look at everything in my life is, how am I going to make the biggest impact, positive impact in this world in the last, let's say, quarter of my life, or whatever I left, right? And so that's what I think about every day. You mentioned that, you want to be able to make an impact, and you know that as you grow to be a dominant company in the country, in your space, you can make a great impact in the lives of your teammates, in the lives of your customers, and otherwise. Is there stuff that you guys do outside your businesses to create camaraderie and that your teammates like to help support and things like that? We have a foundation that gives back. Do you guys do anything like that?
We do. We actually started about 5 years ago. We call it a 2-for-1 giving campaign, where for every move or junk call we complete, we donate 2 meals to U.S. Hunger. So we've donated over 3 million meals since we launched that program, which has been really powerful and something that our team members really appreciate and respect, and our franchise owners are passionate about as well. We launched during COVID, where we would offer free moves for survivors of domestic violence, because we kept hearing these stories about people who were stuck in quarantine with their abusers. And so we're like, hey, we don't want financial restrictions to be what's preventing them from getting out. So we still offer that. We've done over 100 free moves for survivors of domestic violence. And then we also have a lot of affiliations locally with like the Goodwill and the Habitat Restore, because we're hauling away people's unwanted items. A lot of those items still have residual value, especially for some of those nonprofit organizations. So we'll donate items before we take them to be disposed of or recycled. And so those are some of our social impact initiatives that have been very aligned with our core values and company purpose about making that impact. And so, and it's something that our team members and franchise owners are very passionate about.
I love it. That domestic moves, that's an awesome idea. That's something, you're in the business, and boy, how tough can it be for somebody when they have to move out? They got to move out, and you can't get out, and they don't help them move out, right? So what an awesome gift that is to those 100+ people you've done that for. So keep it up.
Those have been probably the most touching and sort of heart-wrenching at the same time, because sometimes we'll get calls from somebody in an area where we don't have a service, and so the best we can do is maybe call the local authorities or call the domestic violence hotline or what have you, if we're not able to assist. But it really is scary and unfortunate. As a father of 3 daughters myself, I can't fathom the notion of somebody being stuck in a situation with an abusive significant other and not feeling like there's a way out.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And again, those things are, we found that our Rabine Group Foundation that we have, that we started about 15, maybe 17, 18 years ago now, I guess. We do a lot of great things for the community, and mostly it's for children, elderly, and veterans. But, the things we do, we want our teammates to be involved in giving, be involved in the, labor it takes in many cases to serve those groups that we're serving. And the camaraderie you build in your company is something, most people don't understand. And I wouldn't have understood it when we first started building our foundation. The difference it makes in good people that can work for a company that's doing great things that they can be part of, right? There's a lot of our teammates don't have the time or the money to do the things that they'd like to do. But if they can be part of your foundation, with giving time and talent and seeing the benefit to the community, it pays big dividends when it comes to retention of great people. You're not going to retain those people that could care less, selfish people. Darn, too bad, right? That's okay. But when you're going to retain the selfless people that we want to grow our companies, so that's awesome. I love hearing that. And most of the people on my podcast I know ahead of time, and I know they're givers. And if you're not a giver, I probably don't want you on my podcast. So I really appreciate that. And I already knew about your thought, what you guys do. I heard a little bit of what you do already, but awesome stuff. So when you think about in your life, okay, what are you gonna do? You're gonna work another you're a pub kid still. So another 20 years, 15 years? What do you want? How long do you want to do this before the next Hunk, the CEO Hunk it takes your spot and your partner's spots?
Well, it's an interesting question, because when I was younger, I always had this glamorized view that I was going to make a bunch of money by the time I was, call it 40, and then I was just going to put my feet up and chill. Well, I'm 41 now, and I certainly don't see myself putting my feet up and chilling anytime soon. And I meet folks like yourself, or much older than you, quite frankly, who don't stop. And if you're not, you hear that sort of old adage, if you're not growing, you're dying. And or you hear about somebody who sold their company and took a month or two off and got bored and started a new company, or started a foundation, or started investing actively. And so I think my entrepreneurial energy is going to be something that's always utilized. Maybe it'll be utilized in sort of helping to curate the next evolution of our brand, or if we get our brand to a position where we put more folks in place where I'm not as involved in the day-to-day, I can do some more serial entrepreneur support initiatives. So I don't see myself ever just kind of putting my feet up and chilling completely. And then it was a quote, actually, another entrepreneur told me, who was in his 80s and was still, very active in some business ventures. And he just said, entrepreneurs don't retire. And so I said, okay, fine. I kind of like that. I'm gonna stick with it. And actually, I saw an interview with the football coach, Alabama football coach Nick Saban. And here's a guy who's won multiple national championships. Probably could just ride off into the sunset if he wanted to, but still gets up and prepares every day for the next season, next game. And he said that, every day he wakes up, he takes the rearview mirror off. He's not worrying about what he's accomplished already. And he said that complacency leads to bad decisions, and bad decisions lead to bad outcomes. And, if I weren't active in something, I would become complacent, and that probably wouldn't result in a good outcome for myself or my family or the business. So I don't want to become complacent.
So the thing is this: I believe that the entrepreneurial spirit, the energy of the entrepreneurial spirit, inspires others to do great things. Right? That's what leaders do. They inspire others to do great things. The entrepreneurial spirit, the energy of the entrepreneurial spirit, inspires people to do amazing things. Right? I'll give you an example. Bernie Marcus started an organization 12 years ago that I was asked to be part of. It was Job Creators Network, where we were going to fight bad regulations that hurt small businesses. And actually, our mutual friend, Shelley, I got a hold of Shelley when we needed somebody from the franchise world to fight crazy Obama and Biden regulations that were going to crush franchises back. This is like 9 years ago, okay? Shelley joined our team and represented us along with a few other franchisors to fight the crazy, to basically educate the legislators to stop the craziness of the bills that Obama wanted to pass. So either way, guess what? Bernie Marcus at the time was 82 or 2 years old when he recruited me to be one of the leaders of the founding of this organization. I was off it for a few years as I ran for governor, and I had issues with health in my family. So I wasn't part of this for about 5 years, I guess. I just joined back to the board again. I got to tell you, Bernie Marcus, now 93, 94 years old, is still inspiring me and people like me every day to go beyond what we think, to make an impact like we never thought we could make, right? Because if you have energy that's 40 like you have today, right? You're a guy that's going to inspire people around you every day. And that's cool. Okay, that's impact. When you're 80 years old and you're thinking 20 years ahead constantly, and Bernie's thinking 20 years ahead at 92 or whatever he is, okay? That's inspiration. That's energy that translates to great energy to people around him, right? So again, I believe that energy keeps you young, keeps you vibrant. People want to hang out because you get energy instead of, man, I retired at 40 years old. I can afford to retire at 40 years old. I fish every day. I golf. That's great. Good for you personally, right? But man, you're not making an impact on the world.
I think of it as a waste of talent too. I want to maximize my potential, my gifts that I've been bestowed, that I can, leverage and apply and to your point, inspire. And that example you gave, of Bernie Marcus, or even you think of, Warren Buffett in his 90s, Charlie Munger, 99, they're thinking about 20 years out, and they know very well they're probably not going to physically be here that far out, but they want to leave that legacy and that impact beyond them being around. So that inspires me as well when I see that from that elderly.
And selfishly, my opinion, the odds are longer life when you live a life of that type of energy.
That's right. That's right. You're absolutely right. You got more purpose. You got more reason to stick around.
So you and I led somewhere past. At 40 years old, I wanted to retire. I always wanted to be a professional athlete, right? I was a football player, wrestler, but never didn't go to college, right? So after high school, I was done with my sports, and now I still compete today at goofy things that I can compete at, and I have fun. But bottom line is this: you think about it, we're blessed. If you would have been a professional athlete, or I would have been, right? We would have had that amazing life, a 10-year career, maybe 15-year career, right? I've got many friends who are professional athletes, right? But at the end of that, they're kind of lost. Very seldom do they have something they're passionate about like they once were in that great sport with thousands of people cheering for them coming on the field, right? They can't replace that again. For us, we're excited to be great, entrepreneurs, hopefully great entrepreneurs, right? Because every day we can live that exciting life that we live, and you can do it till you're dead, right? How can you beat that, right? But this athleticism we have as entrepreneurs, right, is a athleticism you can live the rest of your life, and that's pretty cool, right?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
so don't stop this, man. Keep that energy up. Don't stop, and I think your wife, your family is gonna love being around you. Gonna love the inspiration you're always gonna be. Your teammates around are gonna love it. Your franchisors are gonna love it, right? And life is gonna be a lot of fun, especially if you have the intent like you have of making impact in a great way at everything you do. All right. So, but yeah, you got to meet my son sometime. Another YPO, or I'm gonna plug you guys together. I think I can sell them. I'm gonna plug you guys together. Also, I'm looking for my first business acquisition in paving is going to be Tampa. I'm meeting with some companies in Tampa in the near future. If you know any small paving companies that do commercial work, think about it and let me know that too. But I'm going to be in Tampa shortly, and we're gonna partner with a company there. It'll be our first, most likely. We're looking at Nashville and a couple of the markets right away, but I like Tampa a lot.
Yeah, Tampa's a great market. Happy to show you around when you come down. Absolutely.
I've got another buddy of mine too you want to meet. So another good buddy of mine is another Ditch Digger CEO. You have to listen to this podcast sometime. His name is Ed Zeman. Eddie Zeman is a tremendous brain, one of the smartest business guys you'll ever know. He's in the trailer park industry. They call the trailer park industry. He likes to call it what does he call it? Modular homes or whatever they call it, right? He's also in the RV, high-end RV park business. And he's got a couple right around Tampa that he's built recently. Unbelievably successful guy, one of those modest, coolest guys you ever want to meet. And Eddie moved from Chicago to Tampa recently. Maybe probably 2 years ago now. He's one of my former mates and a guy you got to meet because he's cool as can be, smart as can be, very down to earth, very unassuming. Okay, but you get along great because he's a trailer park guy, just like you're a junk guy and I'm a paving guy, right? He's basically a ditch digger like us with a great entrepreneurial mind that you'll love. So I'll plug you in with him as well. All right, but well, I'll tell you what, man, you've been awesome. I love hearing from you, and we might call you another time, maybe a year or two from now to see what you're up to, if that's okay. I'm Ditch Digger CEO, but you're an inspiration to anybody that knows you. Let me get Chris on for a minute, because what I'd like to do is at the end, I'd like to have Chris kind of go over if he's got any questions. Number one, Chris is my producer and another entrepreneur, and if Chris wants to share with us some of the lessons that he's learned, some of the nuggets, the Nick nuggets of entrepreneurship and success.
Yeah. Hey, Nick, that was awesome, man. You're an inspiration and super cut from the same cloth as all of our guests. First question, was it McDinton's where you met your wife?
No, it was Jackson's. Although McDinton's was the first bar that I went to in Tampa. But Jackson's was kind of like the place to go out, the only place to go out back in 08, 09 time frame beyond McDonald's.
Yeah. I'm from Tampa. I went to Eastlake High School, graduated 03.
Oh, nice. My wife went to Armwood. She grew up in Sefner and I graduated 06. So would have been right around the same time as you, maybe a few years behind.
Yeah, Tampa has come a long way. It's like a cool place now.
It's turned into a boom town. I mean, when we came down in 08, I saw the potential of Tampa. I describe it as small town comforts, big city amenities, but it's starting to really get some cool big city elements, restaurants, high-end venues. Obviously, the sports teams have been fun. Doesn't hurt to have Tom Brady win a Super Bowl. And
oh, yeah.
couple of years. So the Lightning, the Rays, it's been fun.
Yeah. I was sad to see him go. I was like, come on, Tom, play till you're 50.
Yeah, that's right.
That's awesome. So, I'm really interested. So, like, you guys obviously had a lot of success with your own doing this yourself. Well, what inspired you, or what made you want to go down the franchise model?
I think it was part of it was, thinking it was going to be a glamorized way to make the brand grow. So we sort of had this naive notion of how quickly we could franchise it. So a little bit of it was ignorance. A little bit of it was we didn't have the capital or a management team to go expand into other markets, and we wanted to grow our brand pretty quickly. And I think those are usually some of the reasons why people will franchise, is if they have a brand that's important to have a brand, and if they want to grow it quickly and don't have capital or don't have management leadership resources to deploy, then they'll contemplate franchising, because then you can sell the franchises into different territories or neighborhoods or cities or states, and it allows the brand to grow more quickly. And so I still describe us as a 15, 20-year overnight success, because it's been a long march to get to where we are today. But that was kind of the reason we went the franchise route.
I'll say. So a lot of our other clients are going the franchise route. It sounds like Shelley's book, what's it called? Grow Smart, Risk Less. It sounds like that had a huge impact on you, but it sounds like you read it after the fact. How would you start franchising differently if you started it?
So I would have definitely read that book for starters. I would have probably had a second location that was corporately operated before we started franchising. We started franchising after just having the one successful location. And we were probably trying to build the plane mid-flight at that point when we started franchising, because we didn't have all the systems and know-how figured out. We were just kind of like, hey, let's go. And so we probably would have had a second proven location, and then taken that and look to replicate that into the franchise model.
Yes. And then I know we've talked to other folks who've gone down the franchise route, and they all have like very specific ways that they kind of choose who would be like a good franchisor. Like, even if someone comes like, hey, I got the money, they're like, I don't know if you fit. Do you have any like specific?
Oh yeah. We've got I think I would say both qualitative and quantitative criteria. So quantitatively, you've got to have the right amount of money, you've got to have the right credit, and liquidity and access to capital to go out and build a business. Qualitatively, you've got to have the right value set, the right proven track record of being able to lead a team, because our business model is not a simple model to run. It's not like it's, a 4-wall restaurant where you're just, the customers and employees are coming to you. We're hiring, primarily 18 to 25, 30-year-olds to go out on these big giant trucks and drive around the community and go into people's homes and move their personal belongings from point A to point B. So there's a lot of variability, a lot of margin for error. So we just try to weed out somebody that's looking for something that's going to be a get-rich-quick opportunity versus somebody that's willing to roll up their sleeves and follow the system and live the values and build a meaningful, successful business.
That's smart. Is there like a specific question you ask them to weed them out? That's kind of.
We have a kind of a what we call a discovery process that our franchise development team runs, and I'm a little bit disconnected from it. But they during that process, they'll have both forms to be filled out, as well as interview style conversations where we'll ask about kind of their goals, why they want to do this business, which of our core values resonates most with them, and why. Examples where they've had a challenge and had to exhibit resilience or grit to overcome it. So we try to ask those sorts of questions to identify how serious somebody is about performing in this business.
Yeah. Well, I can guess that's probably one of the most important parts of the entire business is making sure they're good.
It is. I mean, a lot of people ask me, well, which market is most successful? And a lot of it is really dependent on the franchise owner. I mean, we have a franchise owner in Kalamazoo, Michigan, who did over $4 million in revenue, over $1 million in profit, And that's not a major metropolitan market. I mean, it's a great town, great city, but he's just absolutely blowing it out the water there. And then we might have a franchise owner in a major metropolitan market that maybe isn't producing those kind of numbers, or maybe struggling to get the revenue up. So a lot of it really is dependent on the person that's willing to execute the playbook.
Awesome.
I had a couple more questions before you get into what we learn. Okay, bud. What's the franchise cost in an average market?
Our franchise fee today is $60,000. That gets them a territory size of 300,000 to 400,000 people. We do it based on zip codes. And then we have some ongoing fees that we charge: a 7% royalty, a 2% brand development fund, which goes towards marketing. And then we also operate a call center on behalf of the franchise owners as well.
Awesome. You're not afraid to be transparent with that stuff, right?
That's correct. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. You can share all that. It's all public information.
That's awesome. But so 300,000 to 400,000 people, the radius could change that. It could be a tight radius, or it could be a very big radius, right?
Absolutely. And we do have some franchises that'll buy more than one zone, is what we call it, to have a larger territory. But we also try to examine the demographics of the household incomes and things of that nature to try to make the zones relatively consistent in terms of potential.
What's your average revenue? What do you expect the average revenue? I know it's going to be kind of a moving target, but let's say 5 years after somebody buys a franchise, what is your expected revenues you'd like to see them at?
Yeah, well, today our average franchisee revenue is a little over $1.5 million per year. We've got some that are doing over 10 million, and some that are just doing a couple 100,000. So it's a pretty wide range. I think getting our ultimate goal in the next 5 years, to be honest with you, is we want to see an average of $6 per population for moving, $3 per population for junk. That's roughly $3 million per territory per year is what we want to try to get to on average.
That's a good way to look at it. And then quantitatively, I mean, so they have to have enough net worth to be able to support the startup of the business, and maybe maybe a first year that's not that profitable or whatever. I mean, it's kind of how you look at it.
Exactly. Yeah, they've got to have a minimum liquidity requirement, a minimum access to capital. So then when they run their pro forma, which we also review, we can see that if they're not paying themselves, they've still got enough personal money set aside to live while the business is ramping up and working towards profitability.
Awesome. Are there any markets in the country that you stay away from when it comes to, you look at?
Well, I can tell you that California is not the greatest state to, or not the I shouldn't say greatest, not the easiest state to operate in because of all the different regulations and costs and so on and so forth. Some other markets up in the Northeast, some similar challenges and headwinds, but we haven't completely avoided any markets up to this day. So we got franchises in all of those areas, and the franchise owners that are willing to brave those challenges. It's not like the other companies in those markets don't have to brave them. So everybody's got the same sort of conditions on the playing field. They've just got to do it better than everybody else.
Sure. Yeah. Awesome. Chris, you want to go into secret of success there for Nick?
Definitely. Nick, I think after this interview, you definitely live up to the moniker, the effortless entrepreneur. I was just thinking, I was like, man, he makes this sound so effortless. Do you want to tell us about your book?
Yeah, so we were actually at Gary, we were at an EO conference, Entrepreneurs Organization, and Vern Harnish, I don't know if you're familiar with his talks, but
I'm listening to Vern out.
Vern was speaking and said, everybody in this audience should write a book. He goes, anybody who's ever written a book always says they wish they did it 10 years earlier. Well, this was actually about 10 years ago. So 10 years ago, we walked away from that speech and said, I guess we better write this book now, not later. And we said, what is it we wish we knew in high school or college that maybe we know now, being, in our 20s at the time, having started a business. So we wrote a book. It's called Effortless Entrepreneur, which is kind of an oxymoron because that takes a lot of effort to be successful. But I guess we were maybe trying to be the next Tim Ferriss or 4-Hour Work Week, but it didn't quite work out that way. But it did. I think what it does indicate is, when you look at people that are really passionate and or in the flow of what they're doing, whether it's an athlete or an artist, there's a lot of hard work that went into their skill and performance development, but it appears effortless to the outside observer. And so I think that's what is our thought is, if you want to be an entrepreneur, what you're doing can appear effortless to the outside, and the harder you work, the luckier you get. But to the outside eye, it's just like, it looks like you weren't trying that hard. And I think that's the idea there behind that book. So I reread it recently, and I would say about 95% of it is still relevant and accurate. I wanted to see like, hey, is this sort of a evergreen concept, or was this a 2000s or 2000 teens style book? But it was still relevant.
Think about this. So, Nick, when you think about yourselves, and I feel like I know your personality. Mine's kind of similar. It's been effortless for me because I love what I do. If you love what you do and you're passionate about your business, no matter what it is, it's kind of effortless, right? I mean, yeah, you're going to have issues, you're going to have challenges, right? But it's effortless when it comes to you're going to wake up with energy every day, right? You know what you got. You got these things to get done today, and you're going to have fun doing it. Hopefully, most things are going to be fun. If you go at everything with an abundance of energy and passion, and positivity, right? It kind of is effortless, really, right? I mean, you're going to have issues and challenges, but overall, it's not like most people that have to work for somebody that they're maybe not happy to work for, right? I mean, it is what it is. I want to read this book now because now knowing you, it is what it is, man. It's effortless entrepreneurship that you're about, and I love it.
Awesome, appreciate it. Yeah, I look forward to your feedback on that one.
Cool. Well, hey, thanks a lot, man. Really appreciate it. What else do you have, Chris? Did I interrupt again?
Yeah. I'll just run through real quick. Nick, this is great, man. I could have written 100 of these takeaways, but I'll whittle it down to 5 or 6. I love that you guys you routed all your complaint calls to your cell phone numbers so you could easily fire yourself. I think that's a great startup hack right there.
Right.
The E-Myth Revisited, that I think our last 3 out of 5 guests have all mentioned that as a turning point in their success. So that's a book I definitely need to revisit. And you said document how you do everything.
Yeah, we actually got Michael Gerber, the author of that book, to write the foreword for our book, Effortless Entrepreneur. Because we reached out to him. I actually kind of stalked him at a conference where he was speaking, and got him, to speak to me and have a coffee with me. And I told him how much he had inspired and influenced us, which at the time maybe we only had 3 dozen franchises, or maybe not even. But we were well on our way on our journey, and so that book I think is a must read for anybody getting into entrepreneurship.
Cool. It's not what's on the walls is in the core values. It's what's in the halls. I loved your saying. So, to achieve a good working environment and success, it's the right balance of Sesame Street and Wall Street.
Yeah. I mean, you can kind of pitch that. That gives you that visual, right? Like you see everybody's happy, everybody's nice, but then you also see hey, we're banging the phones, we're closing deals, we're, breaking necks and cashing checks. You can't have too much in either direction. You've got to have that delicate balance of both.
Yeah. That's great. I've never heard it said so succinctly. The best leader builds other leaders. You become the average of the 5 people you hang out with most, and complacency leads to bad decisions, which leads to bad outcomes. Where can our audience find out more about you, my friend?
Probably the easiest way is I created a personal website, nickfriedman.com, Nick, Friedman.com. It's got my contact info. It's got my social media handles. It's got links to our company, College Hunks website, links to my book. So that would definitely be the best way to connect.
Awesome.
All right, hey, Nick, you're awesome. There's a couple things I take away from this too, and one thing I'd like to is repeat, referral, and reputation. Right, the three R's for you. Really, one more R for me, and it's very similar. Is recurring, right? Recurring revenues means that you're building raving customers most likely when they keep coming back, and when they think of moving and they think of junk and they think of you, right? Hopefully they're thinking of me the same way at pavements and parking lots and things that we do. And really, that's the value. I look at everything as enterprise value in a good way. If you're always building enterprise value in your business, your franchisees, yourself as a franchisor, myself and our businesses, right? Good things are happening. Customers are coming back. your teammates are happy. Your teammates are performing at a high level because they love what they do, right? So enterprise values, I think about every day, and I want my leaders to think about every day as we grow our businesses. But it does not happen unless we create recurring revenues, and repeat referral reputation is all about that. So I love it. Your value of your business will always be strong, and your franchisees as well, if they think about those three things that you mentioned. So you're a sharp young guy, and I'm proud to call you a friend. I'm going to come up and look. I'm looking for you in Tampa when I come up there, and I appreciate you a lot. You're going to be an inspiration to everybody you meet, and anybody that works with you. And you're what the great American dream is about. So thanks for all you do.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. This is a lot of fun.
So until next time, come back and see the next one. DDCEO. We're going to have somebody hopefully as good as this guy next time. God bless you all, and thanks for being here.